will keep track of your progress on the project, and will highlight you, will send you some messages if you're behind the schedule or on the schedule or ahead of the schedule. So it is important that you do the work breakdown structure, and there are so many softwares such as Microsoft Project, many others available, but the most popular one is Microsoft Project that will help you to manage your projects. And this is one of the things, is tracking tasks is important, especially when you have like thousands and thousands of tasks on one project. It's sometimes going to be really hard to track which task is finished, accomplished, and which one is not. But if you use some software such as a project, Microsoft Project, that will help you to track the progress and reduce the risk of missing important tasks. And the Microsoft Project, if you don't know, it's built based on the work breakdown structure. When you designed, any of you used it before? Did you use, guys, Microsoft Project in one of the classes? Yeah, some of you said yes, which is basically when you do it, it looks like Excel, but when you organize the task, it will use the work breakdown structure, and that will help you to better manage your project. Organizing activities into manageable components. Better overview of the milestones, easily manage the task, narrowing the defining the scope. So these are all goals of development, why we're using it, why it's important to use the work breakdown structure. All right, now just as a reminder here, just something that hopefully that will help you to keep remembering the work breakdown structure. There's a cartoon for kids. I watch it with my kids, called Special Agent Also. And this is basically focusing on dividing the task into subcomponent. And what Special Agent Also do is divide these activities into sub-activities to accomplish the project. So this is basically Special Agent Also, the bear, or the panda, I believe, the panda bear. And there is the ladybug on the right side here, which basically looks into kids who are in trouble and they need help. So for example, this girl on the left side, she needs help with developing airplane paper. And so Special Agent Also, they get some instructions from the helper saying, okay, divide the work into 3 steps, 1, 2, and 3, and this is how you accomplish your job. So this is something similar to the work breakdown structure, is dividing the job, the big task, into subcomponent to be able to accomplish your project. All right, so what are the elements? What are the elements of the work breakdown structure? The elements are 4 for the work breakdown structure. These are scope, and in the scope, you will look into the broad strategy of the project. It determines a list of specific project goals, objectives, main deliverables, tasks, budget, and the deadline. Also, you will see part of the work breakdown structure, you will see the time, an accurate time estimation. And this is also given to you on Microsoft Project, where you put the time for each task. The cost, also you will see the cost as a part of one of the elements of the work breakdown structure. And you will see the budgeting and an integrated earned value management system. So this is also another topic that we're going to focus on, the earned value system. We're going to cover it in future weeks. And also what is assigned to the task, resources, define who is responsible for individual work, and deliverables during the project. And there's some metrics that we could use, such as the responsible, the accountable, consultant, and the informed. These are the metrics. So you put the person who is in charge and their role, whether the responsible person, the accountable, the consultant, or the informed. So short, what we need to know here in this slide, there are 4 elements of the work breakdown structure. These are the scope. This is just to determine a list of specific project goals, objectives, the time for each task, the cost, estimating cost for that task, and the resources that you need for that task. All right, so how to develop the work breakdown structure? You brainstorm all work required to complete project deliverables. So you say, okay, well, I want to build a coffee table. What do I need? So if you have a team, that would be great to help you with the brainstorming session. If you by yourself, you just say, okay, what do I need to accomplish this to build a coffee table? You start brainstorming. I need wood, I need nails, I need paint, I need stain, I need sandpaper, I need table saw, I need, you know, you start doing this, and maybe I want to put the glass on the top. So you start brainstorm about the what the things, the activities that you need to accomplish the project. This is number one. Number two, you group these tasks and activities into categories. Okay, so once you brainstorm these ideas on the activities that you need, you start dividing these into groups and stages. Okay, maybe the first stage is to buy raw materials. So this is stage one. Stage two, I need to cut the wood into to the length, the needed length, and then number three is do the sanding for the wood, etc. So you could divide group these tasks into categories or stages. And then number three, you create a Gantt chart, which is a Gantt chart. It is a chart that will show you when to start and when to finish each task. So you can finish on time within the due date that's given to you. And then number four, assign resources to activities. And this is say, okay, this activity, what do I need here? Well, I need paint, I need nails, I need paper, sandpaper, and so on. So you assign the resources to each activities. And just a note, involvement of all team members in the process to have a detailed and comprehensive work breakdown structure. It is important to brainstorm as a team. Again, having a team with you will bring you a different perspective than yours, and that will help you to better achieve your goal, to have a higher quality of your project. And when you do the work breakdown structure, the easiest way, when you do the brainstorming, activity, the best way to do it is using Post-it notes. This is where you'll record an idea on each one of these notes. All right, let's take a look into the work breakdown structure numbering. And as you see, this is the project. This is on this chart. If you want to look into the chart easy before we read the description, you will see that the work breakdown structure is divided into different levels, and each level has a number for each task and activity. So let's read here. On level one is designated by 1.0. This is the first level. The level two designated by 1.x, such as 1.1 or 1.2. And level three designated by 1.xx, such as 1.1.1, etc. This effort continues down until all required to be completed project are assigned. So again, this is not the focus of the project, not the focus of this class, but I just wanted to give you an overview on what the work breakdown structure, why we using it, and how we use it. And I'm sure if you took a class with the project management, I'm sure you're familiar with this technique, but if not, don't worry. This is just going to be an introduction before we jump into the cost estimating using the work breakdown structure, we need to learn about the work breakdown structure. So just an example of the work breakdown structure. This is customizing a sport car. So what do you do? Receive the order. These are just the activities that you will see: receiving the order, signing a contract, receive the payment, sending order to shop, painting a car's body, preparing brakes on axles, preparing axles on wheels on axle, right brake axles, lift brake axles, quality inspection, quality report, signing delivery checklist, and delivery. These just a brainstorming of some ideas. It could be different, could be other details involved as well, but I listed these as just an example to how to customize a car. And now once you build your work breakdown structure, you start with a level one, which is customizing a car. This is 1.0. And then we have 4 deliverables: initiation, building, which is executing the project, controlling, and closing. So as you see, level 2 has 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and 1.4. Now, the next level would be 1.11 for receiving orders, 1.1.2 for signing contract and receiving payment, and 1.1.3 for sending order to shop. So this is basically the level 3. And what we did here, we after we did the brainstorming, we divide these activities into groups. Which group going to be in the initiation, which group going to be in the building, which group will be in the controlling phase, and which group will be on the closing phase. And then we organize this into a nice way. And even there is a 4th level where for the axles, you'll see on installing the axles, we have, this is on level 3, 1.2.3. And under that, we have back axles and front axles. And on the back axles, we have the right and the left. And for the front axles, we have the right and the left as well. So each of these activity has a unique number that is not duplicated with another one. That would be just a way to organize the work, the project. And once you break it down, you could better manage the project. There is another example that I probably want to skip it, redecorating room. Well, let's go over it very quick here. For a redecorating room, you could have prepare the material as a level 1, prepare the room, paint the room, and clean the room. And under each of these, we have more details. On the right side, there's also the same thing for redecorating the room, but different sequence. The whole point that I want to bring here for this, why I have 2 different things, because I want you to, it's not a science. The work breakdown structure, it's common sense. It's just something that you will use it to divide the work, to divide the project, so you will be able to manage it. So one person did these steps on the left as a redecorating the room. Another person would have something different. As long as you have the common sense, as long as you are able to control your project, that would be fine. There's no big deal. As long as you are able to manage it, you are able to control it, that's fine. So again, the whole point of having 2 different ideas or activities on redecorating the room here, it's just use a common sense. There's no science. There's no one rule saying this is how you do it. It's basically you brainstorm, you divide the activities into groups, and then from there you could do the work breakdown structure by regrouping and organize these hierarchically. Again, use the common sense and breakdown when you break down projects. No need to follow any steps or anything. Just make your project more manageable. Okay, as a summary for developing the work breakdown structure, divide the total work of the project into major groups, and then subdivide these groups into tasks, and then divide these tasks into subtasks. Subtasks should be small enough to permit adequate control and visibility. But what you need to do, you need to avoid excesses bureaucracy. Focus on the product to be delivered and not on the work to do. Okay, so again, this is a common sense thing. As long as you are able to divide your project into subtasks that are manageable, that would be what is called the work breakdown structure. Now, any questions so far? All right, now going back to the cost estimation. Okay, so hopefully that will give you the work breakdown structure. Was just an introduction, an overview on what is the work breakdown structure, why it's important, how to do it. And now we're going back to the cost estimation. And let's read why we need to do cost estimation before we jump into the work breakdown structure methodology. Project cost estimation Forecast the resources and financial investment needed to execute a project successfully. So the number one is we need to forecast the resources, including the financial investment that needed to finish that project. Number two, the goal of estimation is to identify all the costs associated with a project in order to create an accurate budget and timeline. So we need to do all the details that entails with our project. The better the estimation, the better you will be able to map out your project. A project estimation typically includes a breakdown of tasks, resources, billing rates, and schedule for project. So, okay, so now this is important. We're coming into connecting the work breakdown structure with a cost estimation. When you do a cost estimation, what you need to do, it is typically, to include the work breakdown of the task, resources, billing rates, and schedule for a project. The costs associated with each element are tailored to create a comprehensive estimate for the entire project. A project cost estimation helps project managers and clients to gauge whether the project is financially feasible. So number one, why we're doing the estimate? Well, we need to know if this project is feasible or not from financial perspective. Create a clear project roadmap with accurate timelines. Define the approach to the project based on the budget and resources. More about the project cost estimation. Cost estimation occur before the project is started. So this is as I mentioned, it's going to be in the first phases, in the very first phases before project started, before the execution phase. While they aren't a guarantee of the final price tag, estimates give clients a range to help them approve a budget and secure the necessary funding to start the project. So it is not guaranteed to get, yes, there is some contracts, there is some estimation, but on real life, this estimation could be changed. So, but however, that would be a starting point for the project managers and the client to release some financial resources for that project. The challenge to any project cost estimation is to strike the balance between over and underestimation. So sometimes what we do as a project managers, and we've been asked to do the cost estimation, and we need to be on the safe side. What we do, we overestimate projects. Or sometimes project managers, what they do if they don't have enough experience in the field, they underestimate the project. So this is an important that we should focus on. We don't want to underestimate or overestimate project. Just estimate the right price for the project, and the work breakdown structure will give you an accurate way for doing the project estimation. It can be tempting to play it safe and overestimate the cost of the project. That way you are more likely to come in under budget and exceed expectations. So this is one of the things is, again, where if we do an overestimate, you will still finish the project under budget, but this is not the best way. The best way is to have as accurate as you can to estimate your project. There are several types of cost estimation that estimate in project management, as well as cost estimation tools and methods to help manager forecast accurately. No, this is where we're going to talk about it, the different types of estimation. Just a reminder of the different kind of cost. We did cover that in previous weeks. Some of the types of cost to consider, such as the direct cost, indirect cost. And as a reminder, the direct cost would be similar to the labor, material, or travel as related to the project. Indirect cost would be like the salaries for management, overhead, and something that it's not directly related to the project. These costs typically fall under overhead and administrative costs These can include management salaries, legal and accounting services, rent for the office space, and general equipment. Again, what we're going to do, we're going to consider the direct cost and indirect cost when we do the estimation. Don't just say, okay, well, I need for this project, especially for the assignment, I'm going to ask you to do a work breakdown structure for a project that you've recently done. And yes, your part of it is the resources that you need, such as the material. But again, don't forget the salaries for you and for your employees as well. So we need, what I'm saying is we need to consider the direct and the indirect cost for any project. All right, these are the techniques that we're going to talk about it. The first technique called the top-down or analogous. This method makes cost projections based on historical cost for similar projects. So, for example, you've done a house, you are in a construction area and you've done a house before, and you know how much the building another house similar to that, and you say you go to the client, to the customer, say, I will do a house similar to this for $200,000. And that came from a history based on your experience. So this is what we call the top-down methodology, And this is, again, based on historical cost for a similar project. If your team and organization repeats similar projects, you can compare these past project and their associated cost to your current project species. This method is most effective when this method is most effective. This method is most effective when we have a high degree of similarity in deliverables, scopes, and contexts. So when you have exactly similar project that you've done it before, this is very effective. Yes, you've been through the experience. You know exactly how much that's going to cost. The more variation or complexity between projects, so if there is a difference between projects, this is going to be difficult to estimate and to have an accurate estimation. Now, the next one, this is where our topic for this week is about the technique called analytic or bottom-up estimation. Bottom-up estimation, which is basically based on the work breakdown structure. You divide the work into subgroup and subtasks, and you estimate the cost for each one of these. So it is one of the most accurate cost estimation technique, but it can also be time intensive. So this is one of the things. It could be very difficult to estimate because it's time intensive. You need to build the work breakdown structure. You want to make sure that you include all the activities in your project. But bottom-up estimating breaks the project down into smaller parts and then creates cost estimates for these variables. To do this, bottom-up estimation typically uses work breakdown structure to outline and subdivide a project into smaller parts called work packages. So these are called work packages. All right, here's an example. What you do to do the work breakdown structure, you assign a cost to each task on the work breakdown structure. So you created the work breakdown structure here on previous slide. And now when you do want to estimate that, what you do, you assign a cost for each task. And you need to consider the direct, indirect, and the overhead costs as well. So you go to the interior. The interior for car manufacturing will need a seat. That would cost $200 on the first level. If we go to the next one, that would cost $150. The trunk will cost $250. Steering system would be $100, for example. And then you go to the next level, which is 1.2, and you look into these work breakdown structure. Windshield, that would cost $200. Doors, that would cost $300. Roof, that would cost $200, etc. These are estimate, by the way. I came up with these numbers last night, but it could be more. So overall, just to figure out what would be the car manufacturing cost using this work breakdown structure. So I did assign a dollar amount for each of these activities and add these together. So if you add right here 100 plus 250 plus 150 plus 200, that will give you 700. The same thing, the 1100 right here, it came from these numbers. The 4000 came from these numbers. And the project itself will be based on these three deliverables or three main tasks: the interior, the body and exterior, and the wiring and electrics. Add these together will give you 5,800. As again, this is just as an example. All right, the last technique of project estimating methods called parametric, and this is very similar to the work breakdown structure. Parametric estimation is a highly accurate cost estimating method for a project with a high degree of repeatability. Cost estimators break project into units of work, estimate the cost per unit, and then add the units cost together. All right, what's the difference between this and the work breakdown structure? This method works best for a skill-based project with concrete repeatable tasks or units of work. In contrast, creative projects are harder to estimate using this technique because the unit of work are often less comparable to or repeatable by nature. So another way, it's called parametric, and it's in order to not to confuse you and to be able to understand this technique. It's similar to the work breakdown structure, but this is most likely to the skill-based project. This is for a skill-based project. All right, now here is the first equation that we're going to deal with, and this is called the three-point estimation. Three-point estimation. Now, when you do the work breakdown structure, you whether you go with the average, you say, okay, well, in order to build these doors, like in the previous example for the car manufacturing, that would cost me $200. Okay. Now, this $200. Where did you come up with this number? So let's go back a little bit here. Okay, let's take this one, 1.1.1, $200. In order to come up with this number, you can't say, well, okay, well, I'm gonna go with a $200, just a rough estimate. Well, you have to have an even more accurate way for doing it. The more accurate way, it's called the three-point estimation. Three-point estimation evaluates three levels of estimation based on uncertainty and risk in a given project. So we consider a risk for any project. This method results in three projected project costs. The first one called the optimistic cost, and this is estimate when all favorable things will happen, all opportunities happen, and no threat take place. So you said, I'm going to finish this in 2 days, and yes, you did it. There's nothing happened that prevents you from accomplishing that. So that's the optimistic. That's the minimum cost. Will be the optimistic. I hope you guys are taking notes here because this is the important part. Optimistic cost, this is where the minimum cost. There's nothing interrupt your work. You've done it perfectly, and that will result in a minimum cost. Pessimistic cost, estimate when all unfavorable conditions happen. All threats happen and no opportunity take place. Yes, you estimated in 2 days, but there's so many things happen that prevented you from even starting that. That would be the pessimistic, and that would be the maximum cost. And then most likely cost, that would be the estimate when both favorable and unfavorable condition will happen. So that would be in the between. All right, to estimate the cost, what we do, or it's called the mean PERT average. You take the optimistic plus 4 of the most likely, 4 times the most likely, plus the pessimistic, divide that by 6. And then we're giving more weight on where? On the most likely. We're giving more weight on the most likely. That's why we multiply it by 4. So if we need to take the average, you say optimistic plus the most likely plus the pessimistic divided by 3, that will give you the average. But in order to give more weight for the most likely, we multiply that by 4 of the most likely, and then you add the optimistic and the pessimistic and divide that by 6, and that will give you the cost estimation. Again, just to connect this with what we said before, if you go back here and you said, okay, well, for the seats, I estimate $200. Okay, where did this $200 come from? You have to identify 3 points. To be more accurate, you have to identify 3 points: optimistic, pessimistic, and most likely. And you use the cost estimation, this cost estimation technique, to be able to calculate what would be the estimation for that. All right, let's take an example here. I want you to use a paper and pencil or Excel, whatever you want to do. But here's Christina is a BSU student, estimated to finish a project for one of her classes in 20 hours. This is the most likely. So she estimated to finish the project for the class within 20 hours. The best case, if everything goes right, it will take her 16 hours. The worst case, everything goes wrong, is 36 hours. Okay, so now we have 3 numbers so far. We have the most likely, ML, to be 20, optimistic to be 16, and pessimistic to be 36. In order to finish this project, she will need to take time off from her job. How much she will be losing money due to work on this project? Assume she's making $10 per hour. So the best way to do that, you could say, I'm going to use the PERT time estimate, the 3-point estimate, and that would be 16, the optimistic, plus 4 times the most likely, 4 times the 20, plus 36, the pessimistic, divide that by 6, and that would be 132 divided by 6, and that would be equal to 22 hours. 22 hours. So that would be the estimation based on the given numbers that we have here. It is estimated to finish this project within 22 hours. The total cost that she will be losing because she took off from her work, if she went there and if she worked for 22 hours, that will bring her $220, but she has to take off. So this is basically what she was losing, $220 just to work on that project. I'm going to stop right here and see if you guys have any question. Question or comment? Yeah.
That's the same as using like a network diagram, isn't it?
Yep, it is the same exactly. We're talking about this here, the PERT diagram, program evaluation and review techniques, and that will help you also to compute the cost based on a crashing when you crash a project. But let's finish here. Any question here on this 3-point estimation? What question, comment? Okay. So this right here, let's start with it, and hopefully we can finish it today. If not, we're going to stop and talk about it next time. So just something that to consider with that, as we said, this is the PERT diagram, or came from the cost estimation or the 3-point estimation called the mean PERT average. And this is basically the PERT, just to give you an idea on what's the PERT chart and how we use it to estimate the cost. The PERT, first of all, you need to know that this is a program evaluation and review technique. This is where the PERT came from. Came from project evaluation and review techniques. It is a project management planning tool that used to calculate the amount of time that need to finish a project. So on the right side, you will see that this project is divided into 5 milestones. And in order to go from milestone 1 to milestone 2, that's the path B, it will take them 3 days. And from 2 to 3, milestone 3, that would take them 2 days. And so on. So if every line here, whenever you see the T, that would mean if you move from 1 to 3, that takes 6. If you take from 1 to 4, that will take 2. And if you see that dashed line, that would be the critical path. And this is all listed on the right here, on the right lower corner. So how this is important for me as a cost estimator. Based upon cost curve computed on a normal crash basis. So this is why it is important for me. Here's the activities A, B, C, D based on the chart. And here's what the days. So for activity A, it will take 2 days. Let's go back just to review it quick. So here's activity A, that moving from 1 to 4, that will take 2 days. We list that down on this table. And then we know that this will cost $80. And now, which is $40 for day. Third, for activity B, it will take $70. And we came up with estimate for each of these days and activities, and the total would be $650. That's the normal situation if we don't crash. But however, if we crash the project, which crashing a concept means that you wanna finish the project in a less amount of time by adding more resources. So as you see on activity, if we add more resources, that will we'll reduce it from 2 days into 1 day, and that will cost $130. And because the acceleration cost per day for that activity is $50. And then we came up with these numbers based on the crashing schedule. And then eventually we did calculate the total crash per activity, and that will give you $1,015 for finishing that particular project. So this is where we need the cost estimation. We need to find out when we have a normal project, normal process, and when we have the crashing process, how long it will take us. And next time I'm not gonna take more of your time. It's already 9:52. I'm gonna stop right here. If you have any question, please feel free to stay with us. I will be here for an additional 5 or 10 minutes to ask your question. If you don't have any question, I'll see you on Wednesday.